or they don't even have anything to sell. They're just waiting for the perfect website or the perfect copy for their emails. So the first thing is just launch something. Just if you have an idea, just go out and do it and take the initiative to just start doing it and ask for a sale.
You know, and that is so true. I think that's the biggest fear that a lot of us have is we do all these great things in our business and then we forget to ask for the sale. And by the way, I want to thank Roy Montero. I'm a huge fan of Roy's. He helped me very early on when I was learning technology, and he just told me I wasn't recording this. So I just want to backtrack a little bit, if you don't mind. If you wouldn't mind just sharing with the audience again a little bit about you. I'm with Iannazzone, and we're talking about how to make $10,000 a month in your online biz. So April, if you don't mind redoing that, thank you.
Sure, I'll make it short and sweet. I help women primarily, but men too, internationally grow a six-figure business relatively quickly around the lifestyle that they truly want. And I myself have multiple six-figure business, so it's not like I'm trying to teach something I haven't done myself. So I think that's very important.
And I think it's true. Credibility is everything. You don't want to learn something from someone who's never done it, but just read a lot of books about it. So I think it's really, really important that you've got the experience. And you talked about being in corporate America, and you talked about sales, and people might think, oh, wow, I don't have those experiences. So we're going to go on as we move along on this topic about how you can create a $10,000 a month online business without having maybe all of those tools. So the first step you talked about, let's talk about what's the most important step after that they need to take to launch or get their online business to grow to 10,000 a month.
And I'm sure you noticed this too. Online, sometimes you see a lot of people trying to sell low-end products or $27 ebooks, $100 programs, $197. One of the biggest turns in my coaching, the coaching part of my business, was when I created a 12-month program, a high-end 12-month program. So you don't really necessarily need a 12-month program, but you do need a higher ticket item that you have to sell less of and make great money, instead of selling the $197 where you're hustling for each and every sale. And I think when I made that switch in my head that yes, I could charge more, and yes, people really want what I have to sell, that really made the whole difference to me. There was no more, oh, how much money's coming in this month. I knew every month I was going to at least make a great minimum.
So what was that pivotal point for you in your mindset? In other words, because I think that we've all had that. I know what I was guilty of that. I was doing ebooks at $9.95 and I was charging like a $9 a month membership fee. And I mean, not that those are bad. They're great residual incomes, but you're never going to build wealth that way. It's going to take a long time. Well, I shouldn't say never. If you have 1 million followers, you will build wealth, so the bigger companies have done that. But what was the turning point for you?
I was offering some programs, and it was a lot of one-on-one time. And I really just got so stretched thin with my time, and I was back to working the same hours I was in the corporate world and telling my kids, hold on, and not charging for it. So I think I just was like, wait a second, I'm doing all this work and I'm only making this. Something's got to change. So for me, it was really, I had to know that it was okay to charge that much, because when I first got into the business, I'm like, I can't believe that person charges that. She gets that much. Now I'm like, wow, I'm making a little more than that per person. So I think it was really just tired of spending a lot of time, and when you actually worked out the numbers, it wasn't that much money coming in.
And my husband and I have this conversation all the time. I refuse to work for $10 or $7 an hour. I just refuse to. I know that what I have to share is worth so much more to some people. And I think that that's the key, is finding those people. And so how do you go about finding the people that you are right for, that your product or program is right for?
Thank you, because that's an awesome question. And I have clients that are struggling to figure that out themselves, and I'm trying to help them, but they are so afraid to narrow themselves. So you really have to market to that one person, and we've all heard of that one ideal client, but most people, and myself included, I didn't want to exclude men at the beginning. I knew I could help men too, and I was trying to market to everybody. So once I decided, okay, I'm helping women, like a woman, her name is Jill, who is about 34 years old, who has kids at home, who really has to rely on her income. So once I decided on that one person and marketed all my marketing efforts went to that one person, everybody started coming in. So I have many male clients, and actually very strong male clients, like gym owners and different things like that. So I didn't exclude them. I shouldn't say that. When I excluded them from the marketing, it still came in. So just you don't have to worry about losing people, I guess.
And you make a great point. It isn't that you're going to lose the people, but the ones who need to hear the message the most will show up. And then eventually everybody else hears it and goes, well, geez, I want to be part of that. Hi, Sue. If you'll give us a few minutes, we're going to open up the room to guests after we've finished with the formal interview of April. And thank you very much for wanting to join in. I appreciate that. We'll definitely open it up for questions. So, I think that you made a couple of good points, and all of the points are good, but the marketing to one it seems like a difficult thing at first. So what's a process you use to figure out who that one person is?
I actually have an ideal client checklist. So first I worked through who that one person is, but then I also had the checklist of who I absolutely do not want to work with. And they had to reach, before, even after I have like the complimentary sessions and I'm on the phone with them and talking to them, even if they're willing to throw the money at me, if they don't but if they are not in line with my checklist, then I know it's a red flag, and it's somewhere down the road, if I take this customer, there's going to be an issue. So at first, I see a lot of people, and I did it too, you just really want to see the money come in. So you work with anybody that is willing and able to pay you. And I actually had to I say fire, but I had to fire a couple of clients. And I was so afraid to do that because it was the monthly residual, big money coming in. But once I did that again, then the floodgates open with my ideal client.
Yeah. And that's so funny you mentioned that, because I think all of us, if we get to a certain point, have to fire a client. And when you first start out, or even if you're in that mindset of lack as opposed to of abundance, you might do that. Because I remember firing my first client. It was many years ago, and I was terrified. And the moment I did that, I actually had a retail florist. The moment I fired this one customer who was rather abusive, very very demanding, nothing ever seemed to please this person, I finally said, maybe you ought to go to the shop down the street. And she walked out. She stormed out, never came back. And my staff, I had a staff of 13 at the time, all my designers, they all started clapping. And they looked at me like, what took you so long? And it taught me such a valuable lesson, because not only was that person affecting me, but it affects everything you and everyone around you. I have another client that I recently fired about a year ago who I had done some web work for. And I'll tell you, every day was a struggle. She would send me just so many emails about things. And I would say to her, this is my answer, probably not the best answer, was to, why don't you read the proposal? Because it's not in there and I'm not doing it. And here's what it will cost. And she'd get so upset that it would cost more money. And I'd say, but it's not what we agreed. And once I finally decided that I just wasn't the right person for her, I said, let me finish the job we have, and then we'll talk about all the additional things you want. And finally, when I was done, I wouldn't do any of them. I just referred her to someone else. Because, you can charge an aggravation fee if you want, but really, what's the point? Exactly. And I have done that before. When I know there's going to be a client that's a little bit difficult, I might say, okay, let me just charge extra, because I know there's going to be extra.
What do you call it, an aggravation fee?
I call it an aggravation. I had that in my shop, actually. I said, there's a $10 charge additional for difficult customers, and people would just laugh when they'd walk in because I never charged it. But this woman, I wanted to. So, but you know what? I don't think any amount of money is worth, your lack of confidence, because sometimes these people bring you down to the point where you don't feel like you know what you're doing. And so many other things. So, that whole idea of finding the ideal client is wonderful, but having a checklist as well of people you don't want to work with, I think that's priceless, April. And I wonder how many people actually teach that. So thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about for finding your ideal client, and then you'll know that those are the people that can afford you. Then what would you do next?
So, I'm sorry. So like you're saying, when I market to that ideal client, how do I bring them in?
Yes.
Okay. No problem. So what I really personally like to get people on the phone, especially when you're selling a higher ticket item, that personal connection and giving them a little bit of strategy that they could actually run with. Not too much, because you don't want them to think that they don't need you, but connecting with them on a personal level on the phone really is the best way to do it. So you'll notice in a lot of my marketing or even my Facebook posts, it's inviting them to apply for a session with me, a strategy session. So again, it's not so much a coaching session, even though I give them at least one good tip that they could use to grow their business. But it's about making that connection. And then a lot of times where it falls off is the follow-up. So I'm all about structures and trying to get everything done ahead of time and having a blueprint. So I have a whole follow-up process. So after I get on the phone with them, or after there's some kind of connection, they really do go through a whole follow-up system. Because as you know, they used to say it takes 7 to 12 times for someone to be touched, but now it takes, I think it's something like 22 times, because everybody's being bombarded. So my thing there, the one takeaway I would say is make sure you have a follow-up procedure in place, even an email template that you use after you have that initial contact, and you can just edit it to the person on the phone and send it out. Because I know when I first started, after I had that initial contact, I would have to, now I have to sit down and write out a whole email and a whole proposal, and I would get stuck there and not want to do it for a couple of days. So staying on top of it and having that follow-up procedure, and not just once, many times.
And another great point about follow-up, I think that a lot of us are good at what we do, but we're not really good at following through and following up. And I think following up is probably the key to any good sales strategy, or, closing strategy, if you will. I think a lot of people think, I know they're going to use it, but I've had people who've told me that they're going to buy a product, or they're going to attend a mastermind, or they're going to do something that we had discussed, and then days go by and they've not taken any action. And of course, I used to be very bad at follow-up. I'm much better, because as you said, I create systems. What's the saying? The success is in the system. And I think it's true. You need to have whatever your system is that works for you and your industry, because not every industry is going to lend itself to email, maybe, but maybe a video follow-up, or a message of some sort, or even a meeting someone in person. It just depends on the industry. But for people like us who do a lot of online business, you have to have some templates that work. My proposals, I have 3 main proposals, and they're for the 3 main products that I have. And then I customize them to the client depending on their needs. But instead of rewriting it all over again, writing it the first time was difficult enough, to let alone, have to go through that whole ordeal, if you will. And it's not an ordeal in the fact that, it ends up being part of your bottom line. But if you can save the time, I'd rather give the time to my clients than spend the time creating these. And I don't even do fancy proposals anymore. I know companies who will do a huge PowerPoint presentation. I do social media. So when I do social media, I give them a 2-page, here's what I can do, and here's what the results will be. Here's what you can expect from what I do. I have companies that I'm up against that do these 20 and 30-page PowerPoint presentations, but then they're charging probably double, and I'm still charging a good fee. And most of the time I get the business. And the reason I get it is I'd rather spend the time working on the client's problem and challenge than I would on making myself look good and hoping they'll hire me, because a lot of times that will also put you out of the running if people think you're too expensive. So how do you address that? Because you talked about high ticket items. How do you address the idea of, okay, so wow, she looks like she's really expensive, I can't afford her. Not realizing that they can't afford not to have you because of what you can do for them and how you can help their business grow.
Wow, that is actually a great question. Let me start off by saying too, though, once I decided that I was going to raise my prices and really charge what I was worth, I noticed that my clientele was a lot different. So I no longer had the time suckers and the ones that want to email you a million times a day and expect you to be right there on top of it. Once I went to that higher price point, I had more of a, I guess I had my ideal clients and more of, okay, time is valuable. They knew that my time was valuable and their time was valuable. So they just wanted to get the facts and move on. So how do I go around where people are, the question was, what do I do when people think that maybe my prices are too high or they can't afford me? I think in a lot of my marketing, I kind of let people know ahead of time why they need a mentor, why they need a coach, and like you said, why they can't afford not to have me. And I do leverage my time really well. So my higher end program is one-on-one, but then I do have group programs where it's a lower price point, but I'm coaching everybody at once. So therefore my time is spent really well leveraged.
That's great. And and you brought a good point up. It's funny when you start working with people who can afford you. They too respect your time because they're so busy themselves. They, as you said, they want to just get to the bottom line, get the information, implement it, and be done. They don't want to waste a lot of time because their time is just as valuable. We're talking people who are, I have a doctor in one of our mastermind programs, and doctors typically charge, I want to say $350 an hour. If that's the going rate now. Mm-hmm. So for a doctor to be in a program, they're going to want to spend the time. If they're only spending, say, maybe $100 an hour, they still understand the time, the value of the moment. Yeah. And so I think that that's another great thing. Everybody should be working with higher end clients. You don't need to totally discard the people who may be on the lower end, because at some point they're going to be a higher end client when you've helped them reach that goal. Absolutely. I just think that if you focus on the higher end clients, which is what I know I work a lot, I work a lot with Christina Rowe, and we've really started focusing more on those clients because we realize that you kill yourself. You're working so hard. I used to work 60, 70 hours a week and never get the work done. And it was because of the same thing you mentioned. I was working with people who were, I was charging like $60 an hour to do internet training. And I still do the internet training, but I've raised my prices and I get the clients I want. And if a $60 an hour client really needs my help and they've been a good client and they've done other things with me, I'm going to help them. Yeah. But I find ways, like you said, the group coaching's fabulous. Let's talk about some of the ways that companies can use online channels to promote their online events, because I know that you do a lot with events. It's like you're the event queen.
So I love events. That's my background. So part of my business is just dedicated to producing events, and mainly for women, but again, for everybody. So one of the biggest things that I do when I want to promote my events is, one, I run a contest. For every event I do, whether it's a $7 South Florida Women's Expo ticket or a $900 conference, I run a contest. So there's a great website called Contest Domination, and it's usually, I think when I use it, it's about $99 for 30 days. And I use that, let's say I'm doing the South Florida Women's Expo. I said, whoever wins gets a 8-person limo will pick them up and bring them to the expo and then drive them back. So now everybody that wants to go anyway, they're sharing it with all their friends. And the way that they end up winning is by most shares. So I could just leave it there, but instead I want to keep the energy going all month. So halfway through I say, okay, Heidi's in first place with this many shares, and I do it all the way to 10th place, but it's anybody's game and keep sharing. So it not only helps promote the event and bring more awareness to the event, but now I have everybody's emails, because first they have to put in their email to share. So the big thing for me is to stay top of mind. When you put your email in that you are interested in coming to this event and winning the limo, I know you're interested. So even if you didn't purchase a ticket yet, I'm going to stay on top of you and tell you all these great things that are happening at my event until you end up purchasing.
So you mentioned contest domination. So do you then partner with the limo company and ask them to help to sponsor the limo, et cetera, or do you outright purchase? How do you do that?
So for something like that, definitely a barter, not a barter, but it helps them to promote their business. Now they have a table. I guess it's bartering. They have a table and ad at my expo, and I also put sponsored by my company and the limo company on the contest links. So they get a lot of exposure. It's definitely worth it for them. Another thing that just reminded me of, you can't fill a room on your own. So everybody that's trying to do it and filling it on their own and just hoping that someone's going to see it on Facebook is not going to work. You need to partner with anybody that has the same person, that one person that you want in the room, anybody that has that same target market. So for me, it's all about, if I'm making money, I want everybody to make money. So I give, a generous affiliate commission. If they sell tickets to different events, I make sure we make it nice and easy for them. Just copy and paste all of the content. If it's hard, even if I know that somebody has this great product and I want to promote it for them, if I have to sit there and think about what I'm going to write, I'm never going to send out an email for them. So super easy copy and paste. That's 2 quick ways on how I promote that. Another way is to get the media involved. And I know a lot of people have a hard time getting media exposure, but it's really not as hard as people make it out to be. So you want to do a press release, but you also want to connect online with different, not so much like the news channel, but maybe one of the news anchors on LinkedIn or Facebook. And you'd be surprised how many people actually respond back, oh, I was just looking for something to promote this week, or we have, a segment that's just geared towards events. So ask, do a little background research and just don't say, oh, will you promote my event? Instead, you say, I know that you did a segment on this last week, and I think this ties in perfectly. What do you think about it? And, get some feedback. Just don't blankly or blatantly ask them to promote for you.
And pitching the media is it's an art in itself, and we could probably talk about that for a whole segment. But that's a really great idea, great tips, because all of those things can help to make your event success, which is, and events are where you make money as well. I mean, it's not just the coaching, the group coaching, the individual coaching, having great products that are higher end. I think it's a whole package, and because you're really talking about a package of the different things that you offer. So you're not just doing one thing. And I think that that's important for people to understand. Is it's kind of like when they're building their funnel, and if they don't understand what that is, at the top of the funnel is the highest end product, and at the bottom of the funnel is, because it's the widest area, you put your inexpensive. Is that correct?
Upside down.
So the funnel is like this, but the bottom is the okay. You explain the funnel to people, because I know what it looks like.
You just have it upside down. You had the pyramid.
Yeah, I was thinking of a pyramid. Yeah.
So like this, and we want to get everybody in on that low end product or that opt-in offer, that free great thing, and then they trickle down that funnel to the bottom where it's the high end product. But I did want to mention, even though I have like a whole umbrella of products and services I offer, they're actually very separate businesses. So I really don't combine my event production with the coaching. Obviously, if I have a conference that has to do with the coaching, yes, but like my women's expos and mother-daughter events, I actually treat it like two separate businesses, but same structure to both. I have a sales funnel for both things. And for the events, not just a sales funnel for the attendees, but also my vendors. So I always keep a list of, I'm gonna step back for a second and say, you need to fill the top of the funnel by offering something amazing or something great that they have to give you the information for. And really build a list of people that want to buy from you. So for my events, a lot of people used to and I used to at the very beginning just say, okay, I have this event coming up. Who's interested in Expo? Who's interested in becoming a vendor? And they just send me their email. I send them the stuff, but I never kept track of those emails. Now I created an insider-only vendor list. So they have to enter their name and email in. And now I have a running list of vendors that I could email at any point in time and say, we have this event coming up. Are you interested? And I sell out of my vendor space every single time because I started that list instead of scrambling each time to create a new new marketing for new vendors to come in.
Excellent advice. Yeah. And I think if you're doing events, you definitely need to do that. So let's talk a little bit about some of the biggest mistakes that you see organizations make when it comes to, say, setting up an online business. Definitely not building a list.
And it's surprising to me that you go to some of these websites or people that have been in business for years and you don't see like a basic opt-in on their site, and not just subscribe to our newsletter, but something great people want to put their information in. So I think so much money is left on the table that way, as well as you have to work extra hard if you're not building a list. So I think that's probably the biggest mistake.
And you're right. I didn't build my list right away. I just, everything was a free for all. And when you don't, you're right. You're always looking for that next person to market to as opposed to all the people you've already touched. So you definitely need to build a list. And I think that quality is more important than quantity. So a lot of people will try to build big lists, and then that maybe only 1% buys from them. So wouldn't it be better to build a smaller list of highly targeted people, as you mentioned in the beginning, talking about the people who purchase from you, who support you, who use your products and services? They're your ideal client. And the ones that are not, you just don't market to them. And they'll come if they really want it, right?
Exactly. And you stay top of mind too. You don't just build a list to hit them with a sale every once in a while. You want to send out some great content that they're interested in. So when they're ready, they remember you and they're able to buy from you. And it works in every single industry. My funding company, I build a list for the funding company. And not everybody needs a loan right away, but maybe they have a friend. And if I send them something at least once a month, in my other businesses, I send it out weekly or sometimes twice a week. But in the funding company, it's once a month. They just need to know I'm around once in a while. But any business, you need to stay top of mind.
So I'd like to, I'm going to ask you for that one tip or resource of the week. And if you wouldn't share that with the audience. And then I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the audience if they'd like to jump in. I think if Sue Stelson is still here with us, I'd love to have her say a few words if she'd like. So
my tip of the week might be something you guys already know about, is stripe.com. So again, with my funding company, which is totally a separate business altogether, I actually offer credit card services from many different companies, and I don't use them myself for my online business. I use stripe.com. It's awesome. And it's, they just charge you every time you use it. There's no monthly fee, and you don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it's great for subscription billing and everything. So stripe.com.
And it does what? It's like a recurring billing system?
You can use it for recurring billing, but you can charge anything on it. So I don't want to compare it to Square because it's so different, but it has kind of the same billing features as Square. So you pay a small percentage per transaction, and then a flat fee for each transaction. But you don't have to pay every month for, high credit card rates.
Which is great, which is what I like about that. Well, that's great. Thank you for that. Okay, let's go ahead and, I don't know, Sue, if you're still in the room, I'm going to go ahead and see if you'd like to join us and say a few words. And anybody has any questions that would like to either jump into the open seat or comment in the side, we'd be happy to try to answer your questions. So let's see if Sue's still in the room. Yes, hi Sue. So can we hear you, Sue? I'm not sure.
So there's a little delay. Oh, there.
No? Here we go. Sue, are you taking a walk?
I love being in business. I love being business for my.
Yeah, we're having a little trouble hearing you, Sue. It's breaking up.
Anyway.
Hold on. Let's see if this works. No. Sue, I'm gonna exit you out, and if you'd like to try to come back in, we'll try it one more time. If anybody else would like to join us in one of the open seats, we're more than happy. You can ask any question you'd like of April pertaining to our topic, how to make $10,000 a month in business online. Let me see. Okay, Sue is asking to be back in.
I want to give a quick shout out. I see a couple of my clients joined us today. So hi, Sue, Susan and Tiffany.
Welcome, and welcome everybody who's joined us. You know, it's kind of like Periscope. I love Periscope, but trying to keep up with the conference. And by the way, hello to all our Periscope followers today for watching, because we've got quite a few on the call. So thank you. Thank you, Sue. Go ahead. Can we hear you now? No. Yeah, we had this problem earlier, April, with the recordings. We couldn't hear. No one could hear me. We had 3 of us in the room, and nobody could hear me.
Maybe
so I'm sorry, Sue.
The question.
Feel free to type in your comment in the side if you have a question. Looks like we have quite a few people in the room. I'm just going to empty that seat for a moment and see if anybody else would like to join in and jump in and ask any questions or make any comments about the content so far. We're almost finished. April, in the meantime, until anybody wants the open seat or has any questions, why don't you tell us about any upcoming events you have? I know you have a teleseminar series coming up, and I'm excited to be part of that. Thank you.
We have the Self-Made Success Summit, where I have 25 experts that have 6- and 7-figure online businesses. So they're sharing all their tips and tools and strategies. And that starts in November. But if everybody, I actually have a free video training that is 5 ways to instantly infuse cash into your business this week. You can go to apriliannazzone.com/gift and get 5 ways to instantly infuse cash into your business this week. However, I do got to leave a little bit of a disclaimer. Those ways are just for instant cash infusion, not for building a long-term steady business. So stick with me on the list after that, and I'll give you some more ideas.
Well, you know, and there are times when we need that little infusion of cash. So those things are really good. I know that I've done some of those things in the past as well. So if you will type in the comments over there, the URL, that'd be great, so people can check that out, and anybody who watches the replay as well. What's the best way that our audience could get in touch with you, April?
Just going to apriliannazzone.com and sending me a message. I'm going to put it in here. There you go. And that's, my website as well. So you can, send me a message. I'm pretty easy. And also, I'm very active on social media. So if you message me on Facebook or on Twitter, I'm pretty responsive. And I do handle most of my own stuff still on social media. So you're not going to be getting my back-end person, even though she posts for me, but I'm the one doing all the connection.
And I think that that's another good tip. When I work with my clients, I try to make sure that they, first of all, give me their content and at least check their channels once or twice a week, even if I'm managing a client who is just too busy, because there are times that a person really needs to look and see what's going on their channels. So that's really good advice. And also, it's much easier for you to build the connection. The way you work, you need to build your own connections. You really. So Sue looks like she's trying to get back in. We'll let her have one more chance.
I can't wait to hear her question.
Right. So while Sue is getting in, sometimes it takes a moment. What's been the most surprising thing about your profession so far?
The most surprising thing, that it doesn't need to be perfect. And I get a lot of haters because I'm all about just taking action and then worrying about what happened after. So I get a lot of people that message me, April, you spelled that word wrong in your email, or, maybe a Facebook message, April, you spelled that wrong. And to me, it really doesn't, I know it doesn't look as professional, but I'm getting my message out there. It's working. So I just need to try to proofread a little bit better, but I think you just got to get it out. You feel something, write it, get it out.
First of all, I want to welcome Sue. Before I ask you to say a few words, Sue, well, go ahead. I want to hear if we can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can we hear you?
Yay.
Yay, we can hear her. So real quick, while we are on that topic, and then Sue, you can ask your question, is one of my favorite people in the world is Dan Poynter, and he wrote the Self-Publishing Manual. We happen to be friends. He's written a forward for one of my books. I'm in one of his books. He's just an amazing human being, and his book has been probably published in 30-some languages. And, one of the best pieces of advice that he ever gave me and to all of the people he works with is, when your book is 90% done, it's done. Do not worry about it being perfect, because if you worry about it being perfect, first of all, it'll never get out there and you'll never sell it. And what's more important, getting your message out or being perfect and never getting it out? So I've kind of subscribed to that. And I happen to be a perfectionist when it comes to writing because I write all the time. So I'm always editing. I learned, don't edit while you're writing. Wait till you're finished. You'll catch most of the mistakes anyway, but you'll get done a lot quicker. So that's just really great advice, April. So Sue,
I do.
You have
Hi.
a question.
Tell
us a little bit about yourself first, Sue.
Well, I was in the corporate world for many years and decided that I had the drive and the willingness and everything that it takes to own my own business. So right now, I am, is it okay to mention the company that I represent? Okay. So I am an independent consultant with Selfpublishing Designs. It's kind of a high-end jewelry line. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I currently live in Michigan, but after losing my husband a couple of years ago, I remarried and I will be moving to Florida soon. So yay!
Yay! So connect with us. We're in South Florida. We're in
Cutler Bay. So no,
that's not that far.
I'm signed up as a vendor in the South Florida Business Women's Business Expo.
Oh, awesome!
So
in December?
I'm excited. Yeah. But the question I have, I guess, is, I've built a really great business and also a team here in Michigan. And of course, because of technology, it's going to be easy to stay connected and all of that. But how do I feel like I'm going to be starting all over again when I come to Florida. And is there a leads group, or is there, how could obviously I'll be at the expo and that's one way to meet gals, but what would your advice be, ladies, for me?
April?
It's a little bit different when I'm talking about direct sales company, because I, again, think you need to constantly be building a list of people that are interested in the opportunity to become a rep. Almost more, well, actually, definitely more than trying to sell the jewelry. So absolutely. I would really focus on really growing it online and not just South Florida. So keep in touch with the Michigan, grow it in South Florida, but also, create a website with some great opt-in about working for yourself and how it changed your, how Selfpublishing allowed you to leave the corporate world. And, have them put their email in for that. And then you just give them some great tips about, things that you're doing that's working for you, and this is the company that is your tool to have, you know, this kind of lifestyle.
Right.
So really posting that all over social media, using your own website to do that as well. And when you're at the, a little tip for being at the event, which a lot of people don't do, they're just trying to really sell people on the new business or sell people on the jewelry. Instead, try to make connections and collect all the information if they're interested in the new business opportunity. So don't sell them on it there, but actually set up an appointment. Have your computer ready with your calendar and set up an appointment to talk more about the business after, rather than focus on the sale there.
Right.
That's a great idea. And you know what? Ask everybody that's currently in your network who they know in South Florida, because everybody has somebody they know in South Florida. I mean, obviously your friends all know now someone because you're moving down here. So there's probably other people that they could connect you with, and you want to meet connectors. Since your market is primarily women, I would assume, you'd probably want to meet with as many women's group leaders as you can. I'm certainly, I have a book that I wrote called the South Florida Network Directory of Women's Business and Civic Organizations. So, if you want to, find me on social media, or you can email me at Heidi@redheadmarketinginc.com, and I'll be happy to share that with you. The reason I can't give you a link is we just redid all our websites, and so that one is not live, and I don't want to give it out yet because we're redoing the whole website. But the books are still there. We have one for Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach County. So we have 3 directories. So one of those directories would probably be good for you. And I know April Price is, well, I've never heard of that. That's because I don't really.
Like, why don't I have that?
I have been writing that book, and you need to be in it. But I have been writing that since 1992, I think. And I actually got an award from the International Association of Business Communicators, the first, when I wrote it and made it into an actual book instead of just this copies of papers that I was handing out to people. So, you know, that's another tool. But any women's group, the bigger ones, I would say, are good places to at least start to make connections with women. And of course, your own industry associations.
Yeah, April, and I'm thinking more of social groups too, like moms groups, because they're staying home and they're looking for something additional to do. So, you know, you don't have to necessarily go there to network, but you can contact the group, the person that runs the group, and ask them to maybe sponsor a meeting and just set up a table. And usually it's very inexpensive. If it's a small group, maybe $25 just to get a table there. But that's a great opportunity, the stay-at-home moms groups and stuff like that.
Right.
My big suggestion is to go everywhere you can so that people think you've always been here. That's what I used to do when I was networking. I would go to every single group. Pretty soon people thought, oh, she's been around forever. And I'd maybe only been networking a couple of years. Now this is 30 years later. You know, so people ask me all the time, which groups, but we don't know what groups are going to be best for you. You have to kind of go to them and see, like we could say BNI. I'm not sure BNI is the right group for you, or, you know, there's just so many groups. It's kind of, there's also a comfort level. Where do you feel like you fit in best? You know, you're from the Midwest, so you may, you know, find some of the choices in South Florida, a little bit different than what you're used to. I'll say the way people do business. For instance, a lot of people don't show up on time. For things, you know, in South Florida, and I'm from California.
I live in Michigan, and I live up here in Michigan, and it's pretty laid back.
Oh, is it? Okay, so then probably the showing up on time won't be a big issue for you like it is for me. I like to respect people's time.
Yeah, me too. Heidi, could you repeat one more time? You said Heidi at Redheaded, didn't get the...
Yeah. Heidi at redheadmarketinginc.com.
That's
probably the best one because that's my business one.
Heidi at redheadmarketinginc.com.
Yeah. And April, tell us again your how to get a hold of you.
And actually, I put it in the chat box over there. You can go apriliannazzone.com/gift. And Best to Kiss over there, I see that she actually put my top 10 tools that grew my business in 2014. So they're all online tools too that she posted. So thank you for that.
Excellent. I read that article. It was a great article. April, thank you so much for being with us. Sue, thank you for joining us and asking your question. I think it was valuable, and I love when people can jump in. Again, for those of you who joined us late, my name is Heidi Richards Mooney. My company is Redhead Marketing Inc., but I'm here actually representing Women in E-Commerce and the Golden Mouse Award. We're interviewing all of the past and current honorees over the next couple of months on the EntreprenHer show. And then once we've done that, we'll interview other women who are maybe not a part of that tribe. And April was one of our honorees last year. So again, congratulations, April, and thank you for all that you do to make a difference. And thank you all for being with us, and I'll let you guys go and have
Sue,
a great afternoon. I will
see you in December. I'm excited that you're one of the vendors. Yeah. Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate everything.
Bye, everyone.